I guess now that the Mavic 4 Pro is out, this thing is worthless, so I might as well throw it away. Actually, I might still need that.
Of course, I've got the two drones here. So we've got the Mavic 4 Pro, and then we've also got the Mavic 3 Pro. So we're going to be putting these guys head to head to see how much better the Mavic 4 Pro really is. In terms of the design for the new drone, it's definitely reminiscent of the Mavic 3 Pro. However, everything is more refined and engineered. On the front, we've got this massive camera unit, which is actually in the shape of a ball. And of course, that holds all three cameras. And it actually spins on its axis like that, which I'll get to later. And then with our folding arms, it's a very similar design here. Except now, something I really appreciate is you can actually unfold them in any order. So I can do that arm, then that arm, or I can do this arm and then that arm. Whereas with the Mavic 3 Pro, you had to do it in a specific order, otherwise the arms would knock each other and it wouldn't unfold. When I first got the Mavic 4 Pro, it did feel like quite a big drone, and that made more sense when I compared it to the Mavic 3 Pro. As you can see, it is bigger in basically every dimension. It's taller, it's wider, it's thicker, and of course it's heavier as well. Now, I don't really mind that as long as it makes up for it with its performance. And the other bonus of that is with a bigger drone, you get bigger motors, bigger propellers, which means it's also more efficient, so you get better battery life, and you should get better wind resistance. So there's going to be pros and cons to both of those things. Then another addition is we've got a bunch of obstacle avoidance sensors everywhere. And then we've actually got one hidden in the front arm here. So that is a little lidar scanner, and that's going to give you better obstacle avoidance, particularly at night, which is a really nice addition to this drone. In the meantime, while I wait for the sun to get a bit lower in the sky, I'm going to do some wind resistance tests and also some obstacle avoidance tests, because I know the Mavic 4 Pro has improved its obstacle avoidance sensors a bit.
In my testing, the Mavic 4 Pro could go up to 18 meters per second in every direction with obstacle avoidance enabled, while the Mavic 3 Pro could only go up to 15 meters per second forward and sideways, and flying backwards it was limited to about 12 meters per second. In addition to that, the Mavic 4 Pro is quite a lot faster overall, as now it can go up to about 27 meters per second, and the Mavic 3 Pro can only get up to about 21 meters per second. I wasn't able to test the wind resistance directly with these two drones, but it was pretty windy while I was flying, and I could tell that the Mavic 4 Pro was handling it better. And I can guarantee you it is going to handle more wind just because of that more aerodynamic shell as well as the stronger motors.
I know it might sound kind of ridiculous, but I think my favorite upgrade with this drone is actually the new RC Pro 2 controller. Now this guy comes standard with the Creator Combo, which means your drone has a built-in SSD with 512 gigabytes of storage. Now the highlight is this big screen on the front, which folds flat onto the controller. And when you fold up the screen, the control sticks fold with it. So that means there's no more screwing in these tiny little fiddly sticks that you drop on the ground and lose. And of course we've got our antenna that fold down like that. And then we've got an HDMI port on the bottom, which is really nice. But the highlight of this controller has got to be the screen. It is much bigger than the previous screens, and it's much brighter. Just looking at this thing, it is so nice. And when I go back to the old controller, I'm kind of surprised that I was ever happy with that, just because of how nice this is. And there's a kicker on top of that. This screen will fold fully vertically, which I think is genius. So when you do that, the drone camera will also flip vertical, and you'll get a full picture here of what you're filming. It's a little touch, but I think that is brilliant. This controller is amazing. Well done, DJI.
The Mavic 4 Pro is compatible with the older DJI RC2, so if you've already got that one, you can use it with this drone. However, that new RC Pro 2 controller is just so nice. It's definitely something I would consider upgrading to. The Mavic 4 Pro now supports native vertical shooting, which is really cool. I mean, I know getting 6K vertical shots is massively overkill, especially because it's going to be for social media, but you know, it's nice to have. Unfortunately, there is one big caveat with this, and that is that the tilt range of the camera is pretty severely limited when you're in vertical mode. And that also means that your top speed is limited in vertical mode. So you can really only look flat or tilt up a little bit or tilt down a little bit. This is the first DJI drone that I know of that has a barrel roll feature, which means you can literally roll the entire camera unit up to 440 degrees. And this works just like the normal tilting of the camera, where you hold the control button and then when you roll the dial, it'll actually rotate the camera instead of tilting the camera. Now for me personally, I think this is a bit of a gimmick, and I think DJI is going to market this a lot, but I'm already bored of the shot. I think most people are going to get bored of it pretty quickly and maybe use it a few times when they first get the drone, but eventually just stop using it altogether. The battery of the Mavic 4 Pro has been upgraded by about 24% in capacity, and DJI claims it'll get about 8 minutes more flight time, which is pretty close to what I found in real testing. When I launched the drones at the same time, the Mavic 3 Pro would land with about 10% battery life less than the Mavic 4 Pro. I never got up to the 51 minutes they claim, but I think I got around 40 to 45 minutes on average with the drone. On top of that, the new charger can charge at up to 240 watts and it can charge all 3 batteries simultaneously, which is really cool because it'll charge them up fully in 90 minutes. I woke up this morning and C Point was basically inside a cloud. And what that means is sometimes you get an inversion layer where there's this really low-lying cloud over the city, and then the mountains just pop up above that cloud, and it can look incredible for photos and videos. So I'm heading to a lookout point now where hopefully I can capture it, because that would be amazing to get with this drone. Okay, so we're still in a cloud, but I'm hoping that when I launch up through the cloud, it'll clear. So let's see what we can get. This is incredible. While I show you some of my favorite shots I captured with the Mavic 4 Pro, I'm going to tell you about the sponsor who made this video possible, Storyblocks. I've actually been contributing to Storyblocks for 8 years now, with over 800 of my clips available for download. It's really cool seeing my shots used in some of my favorite YouTubers' videos online. But what really sets them apart is you get unlimited downloads for a predictable subscription fee. Even better, their entire library is authentic content created by real people like myself. If you want to check out Storyblocks for yourself, or even download all the best shots I captured with the Mavic 4 Pro, then you can use my link storyblocks.com/Luke Bell, or you can find the link in the description below. Right, let's get back to the review. The Mavic 4 Pro handles hyperlapses like a champ, and with the built-in SSD, the drone can now do up to 1 second intervals, which is amazing and something I've been asking for DJI to do for a long time now. I haven't confirmed this, but I believe that the non-creator combo drone without the SSD will still be limited to a 2-second interval hyperlapse. I managed to shoot this hyperlapse of the clouds below Lion's Head, and I'm pretty sure this is my favorite hyperlapse I've ever gotten with a drone. Instead of the Cine version, DJI now has the Creator version, and we've got a 512GB SSD instead of the 1TB SSD on the Cine version of the Mavic 3 Pro. And it's very fast storage, and it actually allows you to shoot in an all Intra Codec, which goes up to 1200 megabits per second, which is pretty huge. And it's definitely going to give you the most flexibility in post-production when it comes to color grading and just editing your image and that kind of thing. I did test it out, and for me personally, I didn't see a big enough improvement for me to want to justify that massive file size. So I'll definitely be sticking to the H.265 codec, but I'm sure there are a lot of creatives who will use this and appreciate that you can go to that high bit rate and get the maximum quality from this drone. I came to do some comparisons at sunset, and the sun is literally setting right now, so this is going to be more of a blue hour comparison, but should still be very valuable. Now I'm going to try and fly these drones at the same time to get identical shots, and I don't know if you've tried that before, but it's pretty hard, so just cut me some slack, and we're going to put them side by side to see how much of an improvement this drone actually is. One of the really nice things about the Mavic 4 Pro, and actually all of DJI's new drones recently, is they actually turn themselves on when you unfold them. It's a little thing, but it does save a bit of time. The main camera of this drone has been upgraded substantially. The lens is now 28mm instead of 24mm, which is a bit of a shame in my opinion. I would have preferred they actually went wider to something like 21mm, but I think the reason they did this is so that they could get a wider aperture lens, and they really have. They've gone from f2.8 to f2. DJI also claims this is a brand new sensor with up to 16 stops of dynamic range, which is pretty insane for such a small camera. And it's a vast improvement over the 12.8 stops that we got with the Mavic 3 Pro. Now there's also a resolution upgrade. With the Mavic 3 Pro we could do 5.1K up to 50 FPS, but now with the main camera we can do 6K up to 60 FPS on the Mavic 4. Now this is about 32% more pixels, so again, no one's gonna complain about that. You get a sharper image, you can crop in more, it's really nice to have. The new sensor also has a base resolution of 25 megapixels, which is a pretty big upgrade over the 20 megapixels on the Mavic 3 Pro. So every stills photographer is gonna really enjoy that. And on top of that, the Mavic 4 Pro can now go up to 100 megapixel stills with that main camera. Now there's a bit of camera trickery going on to get this super high resolution, but looking at it, they are definitely sharper images overall, and that's a really nice feature to have. But I would say I wouldn't use it in low light conditions. I'd rather stick to the 25 megapixel just because you'll get better results. The medium telephoto lens, which is 2.5 times or 70mm focal length, remains unchanged compared to the previous drones like the Air 3S, the Air 3 and the Mavic 3 Pro, but it's still a really good camera, and now you can do up to 120 FPS in 4K, which is a cool upgrade to have. And it's also capable of doing the same D-Log recording that you can do with the wide angle lens and the super telephoto lens, which is really nice because it means you can use all three cameras and they're really easy to match up and color grade. The super telephoto 6x 168mm lens is the one that has the most upgrades. We've gone from a bigger sensor, it was 1.5 inches, now it's 1/1.5 inches, which is about 2.25 larger surface area, and the aperture has gone from f3.5 to f2.8. Now this means that it should be an overall better image with better dynamic range, better low light performance, and I definitely did notice that in my testing. Especially if you compare these cameras side by side in low light, there's not even a comparison. The Mavic 3 Pro's one is completely unusable, whereas the Mavic 4 Pro actually looks pretty good. This camera really has leveled up its performance a pretty substantial amount. I must say with the Mavic 3 Pro, I almost never used that camera just because it did not live up to the other two cameras. But now it is on a level where I would say it's usable, and you could definitely put it in an edit and you won't specifically notice that that particular camera is not looking as good as the other two. The low light performance is going to be a big selling point of the Mavic 4 Pro. Now it's still got the same sensor size, which is micro four thirds for that wide angle lens, but the lens has been upgraded from f2.8 to f2, which might sound small, but it's actually letting in double the amount of light, which means you're gonna get a much better low light performance and cleaner images and less noise. I was pretty blown away with the low light performance of this drone, even though there's no dedicated night mode as of yet. If you want to do a panorama, then all of the cameras are capable of doing it. However, I would recommend sticking with the wide 28mm camera just because it's got the better quality overall. And you are going to need to do this if you want a wide angle shot, especially because that lens is a bit tighter this time around. In my testing, I did notice that the Mavic 4 Pro does have a stronger signal, and when you're flying further away, you won't cut out as quickly. And this makes sense because it's using the new 04 Plus transmission. I tested the slow motion of this drone at Darkfest with some amazing mountain bikers, and I was really impressed with the results. Fortunately, all three cameras can shoot up to 4K at 120 now, whereas with the Mavic 3 Pro, only the wide angle lens could do that. Now the downside is that when shooting in slow motion with the wide angle lens, there's a pretty big crop. I think it's about 25 to 30%, which is a real shame because the actual lens is 17% more cropped than the Mavic 3 Pro was already. So I found myself actually running out of room with the drone to try and get a wide angle shot of these jumps. But I do really enjoy that you can get slow motion with all three of these cameras now, and it let me get some really creative and unique angles of these bikers. In terms of noisiness of the drones, they are pretty similar. However, the Mavic 4 Pro definitely is just a little bit quieter, and the tone of the propellers is a bit lower. So it doesn't have as much of that whiny high-pitched sound that you get from drones. It's not so bad with the Mavic 3 Pro, but it's definitely better with the Mavic 4 Pro. I'll put them side by side now for you to hear for yourself. I didn't get a chance to test out the active track feature, but DJI actually claims now that it can lock onto birds, which is quite interesting. I've actually tried to shoot birds with the drone before and it was immensely difficult. So this could be a pretty cool combo, especially with that super telephoto lens, so you don't have to get too close to the birds. All these upgrades on their own might seem quite small, but when you put them all together, you've actually got a pretty massive upgrade over the Mavic 3 Pro. And what I like to see is it seems like DJI has taken their time with this drone to refine it, to get the firmware right, so that when it launches, it'll have everything that everyone needs and it'll just be a really impressive drone all around. For the first time I can think of in DJI history, this drone will not be launched in the US while it's launched in the rest of the world, which is pretty crazy. And of course it's because of the tariff situation. I haven't been told directly, but I believe that it's because DJI doesn't want to import a bunch of drones now, and with all the uncertainty, the tariffs could go away in a month or two, and then they've got a bunch of stock which they paid too much for and they can't sell. So I think they're just waiting it out to see what's going to happen before they actually release it in the US. I know a lot of people are going to be really angry about this, but it just is what it is. If you want to see the latest pricing of this drone and the different combos and accessories in your region, then I'll put the link down below. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. And also don't forget to consider trying out story blocks for your next project. If you want, the link is also down below. And on top of that, I've also uploaded a bunch of the best shots I've taken with the Mavic 4 Pro to my Storyblocks portfolio. So if you want to check out the uncompressed files, then you'll be able to find them and download them in my Storyblocks portfolio.